Question 881. The following is not a required element for forming a contract to sell property. A. Legal capacity. B. Offer. C. Consideration. D. Title report. Correct answer is D. Title report. A title report is not a required element for forming a contract to sell property. The title report is composed after the contract is signed. It is obtained during the escrow or closing process to ensure clear title, but it is not a required element for the formation of the contract itself. It is a document that provides information about the ownership history of a property and identifies any liens or encumbrances on the title. While it's important for buyers to obtain a title report to protect their interests, it's not a necessary component of the contract itself. The essential elements for a valid contract include 1. Offer. One party must make a proposal to the other. 2. Acceptance. The other party must accept the offer. 3. Consideration. Something of value must be exchanged between the parties. 4. Legal capacity. Both parties must have the legal capacity to enter into a contract. These elements are necessary to create a binding contract for the sale of property. Question 882. Which of the following actions by someone who has made a declaration of homestead would invalidate it? A. If the declarant records a homestead on a different property. B. If the declarant rents the homestead. C. If the declarant sells the homestead. D. Both A and C. Correct answer is D. Both A and C. A declaration of homestead is a legal document that protects a homeowner's primary residence from certain types of creditors. To maintain the homestead exemption, the property must be the owner's primary residence. If the homeowner records a homestead on another property, it implies that the original property is no longer their primary residence, thereby invalidating the original homestead. Selling the property would automatically terminate the homestead exemption, as it's no longer the owner's primary residence. Renting the homestead generally does not invalidate the homestead exemption, as long as the owner continues to use the property as their primary residence. Question 883. A standard title insurance policy would likely protect a purchaser from the following, except A. Lack of capacity to contract by a grantor. B. Forgery. C. Non-delivery of the deed. D. Encroachments. Correct answer is D. Encroachments. A standard title insurance policy primarily protects against defects in the title that are discoverable through a search of public records. It generally does not cover issues that would only be revealed by a physical inspection or a survey of the property. A standard title insurance policy typically protects against title defects such as 1. Forged documents. If a deed or other document in the property's chain of title is forged, the title insurance policy will provide coverage. 2. Undisclosed heirs. If there are undisclosed heirs who have a claim to the property, the title insurance policy will provide coverage. 3. Errors in public records. If there are errors in the public records, such as incorrect property descriptions or liens, the title insurance policy will provide coverage. An encroachment is an unauthorized intrusion of a building or other improvement onto an adjacent property. These issues are typically discovered only by a physical survey or inspection of the property, not through a search of public records. Therefore, a standard title insurance policy generally does not protect against encroachments. An extended coverage policy, like an ALTA policy, often includes coverage for encroachments, but it requires a survey. Question 884. A building's highest and best use refers to attaining its A. Greatest net return. B. Most equitable and socially conscientious use. C. Greatest gross return. D. Tallest height. Correct answer is A. Greatest net return. The highest and best use of a property is the use that will yield the greatest net return to the property owner over a specific period of time. It's the most profitable use of the property, considering factors like zoning regulations, market demand, and potential development opportunities. The concept of highest and best use is crucial in real estate appraisal, as it helps determine the property's fair market value. An appraiser will analyze different potential uses for the property and select the one that maximizes its value. Question 885. A mortgage loan broker servicing a promissory note by releasing funds to protect the security of the loan must provide written notice of this within to the beneficiary of the loan. A. 5 days. B. A week. C. 10 days. D. There is no requirement to notify the beneficiary. Correct answer is C. 10 days. Lenders and mortgage brokers are typically required to notify the beneficiary of a loan within a specific timeframe when they release funds to protect the security of the loan. This notification period is designed to keep the beneficiary informed about the status of the loan and any actions taken to safeguard their interests. A mortgage loan broker is required to notify the beneficiary within 10 days of advancing funds to protect the security of the loan. This notification ensures transparency and accountability in the loan servicing process. Question 886. In an exclusive listing, a broker is required to A. Do a credit check on the buyer. B. Include a definite termination date. C. Calculate the property taxes for next year. D. All of the above. Correct answer is B. Include a definite termination date. While a broker will often advise on a buyer's financial qualifications, performing a credit check on the buyer is not a required duty or element of the listing agreement itself. It's part of the due diligence once an offer is received, often handled by lenders. Providing information about property taxes is a helpful service, but it is not a legally required action for a broker as part of an exclusive listing agreement. Tax calculations are complex and often fall to tax professionals. An exclusive listing agreement is a contract between a property owner and a real estate broker. It grants the broker the exclusive right to represent the property and receive a commission if the property is sold during the listing period. Real estate law mandates that such contracts must have a specific, definite date on which they will expire. This prevents indefinite contractual obligations, protecting the property owner's rights and preventing potential disputes. Question 887. Which of the following is an example of constructive eviction? A. The landlord failed to make needed repairs on the property's plumbing, so that there is no running water available. B. The landlord placed an advertisement to rent the leased property to someone else. C. The landlord started a 6-month construction project on the building's exterior so noisy that the tenant can no longer conduct his business. He's a sound engineer on the premises. D. Both A and C. Correct answer is D. Both A and C. Constructive eviction happens when a landlord's actions or inactions make a property uninhabitable or unusable. For a claim of constructive eviction to be valid, the tenant must usually actually vacate the premises. A landlord advertising to re-rent a property doesn't constitute constructive eviction. While this might indicate a breach of the lease or a landlord's intent to evict, it does not, in itself, make the property uninhabitable or force the tenant to vacate. The tenant still retains possession. Therefore, this is not constructive eviction. Lack of running water renders a property uninhabitable and is a clear breach of the implied warranty of habitability. If the tenant is forced to leave due to this condition, it is a strong example of constructive eviction. The excessive noise from the construction project renders the property unsuitable for the tenant's intended use, making it difficult or impossible for the sound engineer to work. This describes a significant and prolonged interference with the tenant's quiet enjoyment and beneficial use of the property, especially given the nature of the tenant's business. If the noise level genuinely prevents the tenant from using the premises for its intended purpose and forces them to leave, this constitutes constructive eviction. Question 888. Consideration. As one of the essential elements of a binding contract, can take the form of the following, except A. Cash, B. A promise not to open a competing business, C. Pool cleaning, D. Love and affection. Correct answer is D. Love and affection. Consideration is a crucial element of a binding contract, representing the bargain for exchange of something of legal value between the parties. Consideration is something of value exchanged between the parties to a contract. It can be tangible, like money or property, or intangible, like a promise or service. However, love and affection, while valuable in personal relationships, are not sufficient to form a legally enforceable contract. Question 889. Literal rights and riparian rights differ in what respect? A. Literal rights are associated with oceans. Riparian rights with rivers. B. Literal rights depend on easements to lakes and streams. Riparian rights do not. C. Literal rights run with the land. Literal rights with water. D. Literal rights have less force than riparian rights. Correct answer is A. Literal rights are associated with oceans. Riparian rights with rivers. The distinction between literal rights and riparian rights is based on the type of water body a property borders. The distinction between literal rights and riparian rights is based on the type of water body a property borders. Riparian rights pertain to properties that border flowing bodies of water, such as rivers, streams, or creeks. Literal rights pertain to properties that border non-flowing bodies of water, such as lakes, oceans, or seas. Both riparian and literal rights are typically appurtenant to the land, meaning they run with the land ownership, and do not depend on separate easements. Both types of water rights, literal and riparian, generally run with the land, meaning they transfer to a new owner when the property is sold. The extent of literal and riparian rights, including aspects like land ownership beneath the water or public access, isn't universally fixed. Instead, their force varies significantly by state laws and whether the adjacent water body is navigable. However, neither generally has inherently less force than the other in a universal sense. Question 890. The subdivision final report of the Real Estate Commissioner expires. A. 5 years from the report's issuance. B. 7 years from the report's issuance. C. 10 years from the report's issuance, unless a material error is found in the report. D. The report never expires. Correct answer is A. 5 years from the report's issuance. The preliminary report is valid for 1 year, but expires sooner if the final report is issued before that time. A subdivision final report is a document issued by the California Department of Real Estate, DRE, that certifies that a subdivision project complies with all applicable laws and regulations. This is a crucial document for buyers of subdivided lands. This report is valid for a period of 5 years from the date of issuance. While the report can become void sooner if there are material changes to the subdivision, or can be renewed, its standard validity period is set at 5 years by California law.